The morning light filtered through Janice Price's kitchen window, catching dust motes in its golden beams. She stood at the counter, phone pressed to her ear, watching those tiny particles dance while her sister's voice cracked with words that would change everything. "Stage 4, Patricia said, her usually steady voice thin as paper. "Pancreatic. The doctor said, Janice, he said 6 months. Maybe 8. The coffee mug slipped from Janice's other hand. It didn't shatter, just hit the laminate counter with a dull thud, dark liquid spreading like ink across the pale surface. She watched it pool and drip, unable to move, unable to speak. "Janice? You still there?" "I'm here." Her voice came from somewhere far away. "I'm here, Patty." Patricia hadn't been called Patty since they were girls, running through their grandmother's backyard in matching sundresses, believing they'd be young forever. Now Patricia was 67, and there would be no growing old together, no retirement trips they'd always planned, no sitting on porches in their 80s trading stories about their wild youth. "I'm scared," Patricia whispered. Janice's hand tightened on the phone. "I know, honey. I know. But you're not doing this alone. I'm coming over today, and we'll figure this out together." They talked for another 20 minutes. Patricia's voice steadied as they made plans. Practical things like doctor appointments and second opinions, the kind of busy work that made the impossible feel manageable. When they finally hung up, Janice stood in her kitchen surrounded by silence and spreading coffee and let herself cry. But only for a minute. Only 1 minute, because she needed to tell her children. They'd want to know. They'd want to help. Hannah would know the best doctors in Boston. Marcus could research treatment options. He was good at that kind of thing. And Claire, sweet Claire, would provide emotional support. They'd rally around their Aunt Patricia, around Janice. That's what families did. Janice wiped her eyes, cleaned up the spilled coffee, and reached for her phone. Hannah answered on the 4th ring, her voice clipped and professional. "Mom, hey, I'm literally walking into a meeting. Can this wait?" "It's about Aunt Patricia." Janice gripped the phone tighter. "Hannah, she's very sick. I need to—" "How sick? Like hospital sick or just needs to see her doctor sick?" "Cancer. Stage 4. She has maybe 6 months." Silence. Janice could hear voices in the background, the ping of an elevator. "Oh," Hannah's voice flattened. That's really rough, Mom. I'm sorry. Look, I'll call you this weekend, okay? We can talk more then. I really can't do this right now." "Hannah, I needed to tell someone. I'm kind of falling apart here." "I know, and we'll talk. This weekend, I promise. I'm going into a really important presentation and A muffled sound as if Hannah had covered the phone. "Sorry, Mom. I really have to go. We'll talk soon. Love you." The line went dead. Janice stared at her phone. The screen showed the call duration. 2 minutes and 18 seconds. Her sister was dying, and her eldest daughter had given her 2 minutes and 18 seconds. She told herself Hannah was just stressed. Work pressure. The divorce had been hard on her. She'd call back this weekend and they'd really talk. It was fine. She scrolled to Claire's number. The first call went to voicemail. So did the second, and the third. "Claire, honey, it's Mom. I really need to talk to you. It's important. Call me back when you get this." She waited 10 minutes, then tried again. "Claire, it's me again. I know you're busy with school, but this is about Aunt Patricia. She's really sick, baby. I need you to call me." Another 10 minutes. "Claire," her voice cracked. "Please, I need to talk to my daughter. Please call me back." At 3:47 p.m., a text message appeared. "Sorry, swamped. Everything okay?" Janice's hands shook as she typed back. "Need to talk about Aunt Patricia. She has cancer." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Can we talk this weekend?" Rough week. That was it. No phone call. No, "I'm so sorry." No, "Are you okay, Mom? Can we talk this weekend?" Janice set the phone down on the counter and walked to the living room. She sat in Robert's old recliner, the one she still couldn't bring herself to get rid of, and stared at the wall of family photos. Hannah's college graduation, Marcus's wedding, Claire receiving her teaching certificate. All of them smiling, arms around her, looking like they loved her. When had that changed? When had she become an inconvenience? The phone rang. Marcus. She grabbed it, relief flooding through her. Marcus, thank God. I've been trying to reach. Mom, what's going on? Hannah texted me saying you were having some kind of crisis about Aunt Patricia. Crisis. That's what Hannah had called it. She has cancer, Marcus. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. 6 to 8 months. Oh man, that really sucks. I'm sorry. That really sucks. Like Patricia had a bad cold, not a death sentence. I was hoping maybe you could help me research treatment options or... Mom! Marcus's voice took on a tone she'd heard before, the one he used with his kids when they asked for something unreasonable. I love you. But you know what? You call about something being wrong every other week. Last month it was your neighbor's tree falling. Month before that, your furnace. 3 months ago, the insurance thing. I have 3 kids, a demanding job, and Rachel's barely speaking to me because I work so much. This is different. This is Patricia. My sister is dying. I get that, and it's terrible. But there's nothing I can do about it, is there? Call hospice. Call her doctors. Call literally anyone else who can actually help. His voice rose. I can't be your crisis hotline, Mom. I just can't. I'm too busy for this drama right now. Handle it yourself. Handle it yourself. The words hung in the air between them like smoke. Marcus, I gotta go. Liam has soccer. I'll talk to you later. He hung up. Janice sat in the recliner, phone in her lap, and something inside her that had been bending for years finally snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet break, like a bone fracturing beneath the skin. Her children were too busy for her grief, too busy for her sister's death, too busy for her. Handle it yourself. Fine, she'd handle it herself. Janice opened the drawer in the kitchen where she kept her address book, the one with the worn leather cover that Robert had given her 30 years ago. She flipped to M. Morrison, David, estate attorney. She'd met with David when Robert died, 5 years ago. He'd helped her navigate the will, the life insurance, all the practical matters that came with death. He was kind, professional, discreet. Her hands didn't shake when she dialed his number. Morrison and Associates. Yes, this is Janice Price. I need to schedule an appointment with David, as soon as possible, please. May I ask what this is regarding? Janice looked at the family photos on the wall. Hannah, Marcus, Claire, her babies, her whole world once. I need to revise my will, she said, completely. That night, Janice sat at her kitchen table with a fresh notebook. At the top of the first page, she wrote the date, March 15th. Then, in her careful handwriting, Patricia called this morning. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer, 6 to 8 months. Called Hannah at 10:47 a.m. She was walking into a meeting. Said we'd talk this weekend. We didn't talk. Call lasted 2 minutes, 18 seconds. Called Claire 3 times. No answer. Text response at 3:47 p.m. Can we talk this weekend? I said Patricia has cancer. She said rough week. Called Marcus at 4:15 p.m. He said I call about something being wrong every other week. Said he's too busy for this drama. Told me to handle it myself. She paused, pen hovering over the page. Then she added, Patricia is dying. My children couldn't spare 15 minutes to let me grieve. They told me to handle it myself. So I will. She closed the notebook and placed it in the drawer with her address book, next to the mortgage papers and Robert's death certificate. Documents of endings. Tomorrow she'd call David. Tomorrow she'd start building her case. Tonight, she'd allow herself 1 more hour of crying for the family she thought she had. Then she'd be done crying. Friday morning arrived cold and clear. Janice dressed carefully for her appointment with David Morrison. Her navy dress, the one she wore to church, and the pearl earrings Robert had given her for their 20th anniversary. She wanted to look composed, competent, in control. David's office was in a modest building downtown, the kind of place that had been there for 30 years and would be there for 30 more. The waiting room smelled like coffee and old books. Janice found it comforting. "Mrs. Price?" David appeared in the doorway, smiling warmly. He looked older than she remembered, more gray at the temples, but his eyes were kind. "It's good to see you. Please come in." His office was exactly as she remembered. Walls lined with law books, a heavy oak desk, photographs of his grandchildren on the credenza. He gestured to a chair and sat across from her. "No," he said gently. "You mentioned wanting to revise your will. Can you tell me what you're thinking?" Janice had rehearsed this. She'd planned to be calm, rational, businesslike. But when she opened her mouth, everything poured out. Patricia's diagnosis, the phone calls, the rejection, the years of feeling like an obligation rather than a mother. She told him about paying for Hannah's divorce attorney, about taking leave to care for Claire during her breakdown, about covering Marcus's mortgage for 6 months during the recession. "And when I needed them," she finished, her voice steady despite the tears on her cheeks, "they told me to handle it myself." David had listened without interrupting, making occasional notes. Now he leaned back in his chair and studied her. "Janice, I have to ask, are you making this decision out of anger? Because estate planning done in the heat of emotion can sometimes be regretted later." "I've never been less angry in my life," Janice said. "I'm not angry. I'm clear. For the first time in years, I'm seeing things clearly." She opened her purse and pulled out the notebook. "I've been documenting everything. Dates, times, what was said. I wanted you to see that this isn't impulsive. This is thought out." David took the notebook, reading silently. When he looked up, something had shifted in his expression. "Tell me what you want to do." Janice took a breath. "The lake house in Vermont goes to my niece, Keisha, Patricia's daughter. She's always loved that place, and she actually visits me. She calls just to check in. She brought me soup last winter when I had pneumonia without me even asking." David nodded, making notes. "My savings, my retirement accounts, I want them in charitable trusts. The library system where I worked for 33 years, the Cancer Research Foundation treating Patricia, the women's shelter where I volunteer. I want scholarships for single mothers going back to school. And this house? Sold. Proceeds split between those organizations." "And your children?" Janice's voice didn't waver. $1,000 each. Enough that they can't claim I forgot about them or that I wasn't of sound mind. I wanted absolutely clear that this was intentional. David set down his pen. "Janice, this is a significant decision. Your children will almost certainly contest this will." "I know. That's why I'm documenting everything. That's why I'm here now, while I'm healthy and clear-minded." She met his eyes. "They told me to handle it myself, David. So I'm handling it, on my terms." He studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "All right, then let's do this right. I'll need you to undergo a cognitive assessment with a psychologist." "I expected that." "And we'll video record you explaining your decisions. We need to make this ironclad." "Good." David pulled out fresh legal pads and began making notes. "This will take a few weeks to prepare properly. In the meantime, I need you to keep documenting every interaction with your children, every call, every text, every email. Can you do that?" "I am already doing it." He looked up at her, and for the first time, he smiled. "You know what, Janice? I've been doing this for 30 years, and I can always tell the difference between someone acting out of spite and someone protecting themselves. You're protecting yourself, and you have every right to do that." As Janice walked out of David's office an hour later, her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Hey, Mom, how you doing?" His obligatory monthly check-in, like clockwork. She looked at it for a long moment, then put her phone back in her purse without responding. She had work to do. The next 8 weeks passed in a blur of hospital visits and whispered prayers. Janice spent her days at Patricia's bedside, watching her sister fade like a photograph left too long in the sun. The cancer moved fast, stealing Patricia's strength, her appetite, her color. But not her spirit. Not yet. "Where are your babies?" Patricia asked one afternoon, her voice papery and thin. She lay propped against pillows, the IV in her arm feeding her morphine for the pain that had become constant. Janice looked up from the magazine she'd been pretending to read. "They're busy, Patty. You know how it is. Work and kids and life." Patricia's eyes, still sharp despite everything, fixed on her sister's face. "Don't lie to an old woman on her deathbed. It's bad karma." Despite everything, Janice smiled. "You're not old." "I'm dying. That makes me old enough to speak truth." Patricia's hand, thin as bird bones, reached for Janice's. "They haven't called, have they?" "Not once since I got sick." Janice's throat tightened. "No." "But Keisha's here." "Keisha's always here." As if summoned, the door opened and Keisha Williams entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee and a bag from the cafeteria. At 35, Patricia's daughter had her mother's gentle eyes and her father's steady presence. She worked as a nurse at Hartford Hospital, and she'd taken FMLA to care for her mother during these final weeks. "Aunt Janice, I brought you a sandwich," Keisha said, handing over the bag. "You need to eat something." "I'm not hungry." "I didn't ask if you were hungry. I said you need to eat." Keisha's voice was firm but kind. "Mom, you want me to adjust your pillows?" The 3 women sat together, talking quietly about nothing important: the weather, a funny thing that happened in the hospital hallway, memories of summers at the lake house. Normal conversation to fill abnormal time. This was what love looked like, Janice thought. Not grand gestures or expensive gifts. Just showing up. Just being present. Her phone buzzed. A text from Hannah. "Give Aunt Patricia our love." Not, "How is she?" Not, "Do you need anything?" Not, "I'm sorry I can't be there." Just give her our love. As if love could be transmitted secondhand like a message in a game of telephone. Janice turned her phone face down on her lap. "They don't know what they're losing," Patricia said softly, watching her sister's face. "No," Janice agreed. "They don't." Patricia died on a Thursday morning in late May, with Janice holding one hand and Keisha holding the other. The sun was shining outside, birds singing, the world continuing as if it didn't know that Janice's last piece of original family had just slipped away. Janice called her children from the hospital parking lot. Hannah answered, "Mom, I'm in the middle of something. Can I call you back?" "Patricia died this morning." A pause. Oh, Mom, I'm so sorry. When's the funeral?" "Saturday, 10 o'clock, First Light Baptist." "I'll be there. I have to go, but I'll definitely be there. Love you." Click. Marcus. "That's really rough, Mom. She was a good lady. Text me the details?" Claire didn't answer. Janice left a voicemail. The funeral was on a beautiful Saturday morning, the kind of day Patricia would have loved. Janice sat in the front pew with Keisha, accepting condolences from friends and neighbors, from Patricia's co-workers at the social services office where she'd worked for 20 years, from people who had known her sister and genuinely mourned her loss. Hannah arrived 15 minutes late, slipping into a pew near the back. Janice watched her daughter check her phone 3 times during the service. Marcus came with his wife Rachel and their 3 kids. The children fidgeted, bored, and Marcus spent most of the funeral whispering to them to be quiet. The moment the service ended, he headed for the door. "Sorry, Mom. Liam's got a soccer game at 2. We gotta run." Claire attended, but spent the entire reception cornering Janice to complain about her principal. "He's making my life a living hell, Mom. The new curriculum requirements are completely unreasonable, and when I tried to explain..." "Claire." Janice's voice was flat. "We're at your aunt's funeral." "I know. I needed to vent. You're the only one who understands." No, Janice understood plenty. She understood that even here, even now, her children couldn't see past their own needs long enough to acknowledge hers. It was at the reception, as people picked at chicken salad sandwiches and shared memories of Patricia, that Marcus approached her with a thoughtful expression. "Hey, Mom, can we talk for a second?" They stepped outside onto the church lawn. It was warm, humidity thick in the air. "I've been thinking," Marcus began. "Now that Aunt Patricia's gone, maybe this summer we should all use the lake house more. You know, family time. The kids are getting older, and it'd be nice to have those memories." The lake house. Already they were thinking about the lake house. "We should talk soon about how to handle that," he continued. Logistics and stuff. Before Janice could respond, Claire appeared beside them, Rachel trailing behind. Actually, Mom, Claire said, now that you're getting older, maybe it makes sense to start talking about your estate planning in general. Just to make sure everything's organized, for your peace of mind. Your peace of mind, as if they were concerned about her peace. Hannah joined the circle, and suddenly Janice was surrounded by her 3 children, all looking at her with expressions of concern that didn't quite reach their eyes. Yeah, Hannah added, smoothing her black dress. We should probably make sure all the paperwork is in order. The house, the lake house, everything. Just so there's no confusion later. Later, when she was dead. They were planning her estate at Patricia's funeral. Janice looked at each of them in turn, these people she had carried, birthed, raised, sacrificed everything for, and saw strangers. Strangers who were mentally dividing up her assets while standing on her sister's grave. Everything's already organized, she said quietly. I met with my estate attorney months ago. It's all handled. Oh, good. Hannah's shoulders relaxed. So the house and the lake house are all set up to transfer smoothly? It's all legally documented. You don't need to worry about any of it. They smiled, relieved, interpreting her words exactly as they wanted to. The lake house was secured. The inheritance was safe. They could go back to their busy lives. That's great, Mom, Marcus said. Really takes a load off. Janice watched them walk away, back to the reception, already laughing about something on Marcus's phone. Not one of them had asked how she was doing. Not one had mentioned Patricia's name. Gloria Jean Patterson appeared at Janice's elbow. At 70, she'd been Janice's best friend for 40 years. She'd watched the whole exchange. Baby, Gloria said softly. You see what I see? I see it, Gloria. I finally see it. What you gonna do? Janice thought about the will sitting in David Morrison's office, waiting to be finalized. I'm going to handle it myself. By July, Janice had completed the cognitive evaluation, scoring exceptional for any age, according to Dr. Sarah Mitchell, and recorded her video testimony. David had the will drawn up, legally airtight, waiting only for her final signature, but her children's behavior only intensified. The group text thread started innocently enough. Hannah sent photos of modern kitchens with sleek granite countertops and stainless steel appliances. I think we should update the lake house kitchen first. Those appliances are from the 90s. Marcus, you good with splitting the cost? We can talk about timelines once Mom transfers the deed. Marcus, sounds good. Mom, what's the process for transferring the property? Do we need to involve lawyers or can we just handle it at the county office? Claire, are we selling Mom's house too or waiting? Just thinking about timing with the market. Janice stared at her phone, reading and rereading the messages. They were planning renovations to a house they didn't own, discussing the sale of the home she was living in. All in a casual group chat as if she were already dead. She didn't respond. The messages continued over the following days, growing more insistent. Hannah, Mom, did you see my messages about the lake house? Marcus, Mom, we need answers on the property transfer. Can you call your attorney and find out what paperwork we need? Claire, Mom, hello? Are you getting these texts? Janice set her phone on the kitchen counter and walked away. That evening, Gloria came over with a bottle of wine and her famous peach cobbler. You handling this okay? Gloria asked, pouring them each a glass. I don't know what I'm handling anymore, Janice admitted. Some days I think I'm doing the right thing. Other days I wonder if I'm being cruel. Cruel? Baby, you think what they're doing is kind? They're my children, Gloria. And you're their mother, but that don't give them the right to treat you like an inheritance instead of a person. Gloria reached across the table and took Janice's hand. You raised them right. You gave them everything. If they turned out selfish, that's on them, not you. Janice's phone buzzed. Another text, this time private, just from Marcus. Mom, can we talk? Just you and me? I feel like things are getting out of hand. She showed Gloria the message. Could be genuine, Gloria said carefully. Or could be a trap. You know your boy better than I do. Janice wanted to believe it was genuine. Marcus had always been the middle child, the peacemaker. Maybe he saw what was happening. Maybe he wanted to make it right. Sure. Coffee tomorrow? Marcus. Perfect. Lou's Diner, 2 p.m.? Lou's Diner sat on the edge of town, the kind of place that had been serving the same menu for 40 years. Janice arrived early and chose a booth by the window. When Marcus walked in, she was struck by how tired he looked. Dark circles under his eyes, shoulders slumped. He slid into the booth across from her and smiled weakly. Thanks for meeting me. Of course. They ordered coffee. Marcus wrapped his hands around his mug like he was trying to absorb its warmth, even though it was 80 degrees outside. Mom, I need to apologize. His voice cracked. What I said about Aunt Patricia, about you being dramatic, I've been carrying that guilt for months. You were right to be upset. I was wrong. I was so wrong. Tears formed in his eyes. Real tears. Janice felt something in her chest loosen. I've been a terrible son, he continued. And not just about that. About everything. You've always been there for me. When I lost my job, when the kids were born, every time I needed you. And when you needed me, I told you to handle it yourself. He wiped his eyes. I'm ashamed of who I've become. Marcus, let me finish. Please. He took a shaky breath. Rachel and I are having problems. Work is crushing me. I feel like I'm failing at everything, as a husband, as a father, as a son, and instead of dealing with it, I've been taking it out on the people I love, especially you. This was her son. Not the entitled adult who'd brushed her off, but her little boy, vulnerable and hurting. I want to make it right, Marcus said. I want to be there for you. Actually be there. Not just text you once a month and pretend that's enough. He reached across the table for her hand. Can you forgive me? Can we start over? Janice felt tears on her own cheeks. Of course I forgive you. They talked for over an hour. Marcus opened up about his marriage troubles, his work stress, his fear that he was becoming his worst self. Janice listened, offered advice, felt the old connection reforming between them. Why don't you come to Thanksgiving? She said finally. Bring the kids. We'll have a real family dinner, like we used to. I'd love that. Marcus squeezed her hand. And Mom? I'll talk to Hannah and Claire. We'll all do better. I promise. When they hugged in the parking lot, Janice let herself hope. Maybe she'd been too hasty. Maybe Marcus really was trying. Maybe there was still a chance to fix things. That night she lay in bed thinking about calling David, about canceling the new will. If Marcus could change, maybe the others could too. Maybe family was worth one more chance. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. A notification. She almost ignored it, but something made her look. A group text. She hadn't realized Marcus had added her back to the thread. Marcus, I softened her up. Give it a few weeks, then we make our move. She's almost ready to sign things over. Hannah, good work. Knew you could manipulate her easier than us. You always were her favorite. Claire, perfect. Let's plan for October. I already found a good assisted living place in West Hartford. Marcus, assisted living might be overkill, but power of attorney is definitely doable. She trusts me now. Janice stared at the screen until the words blurred. Then she read them again and again. Every word of the coffee shop conversation had been a lie. Every tear, every apology, every moment of vulnerability, calculated, performed. Marcus had sat across from her and played a role, and she'd believed every second of it. This was worse than Hannah's dismissal or Claire's silence. This was betrayal wearing the mask of love. Janice got out of bed, walked to her desk, and pulled out the notebook. In careful handwriting, she documented the coffee shop meeting, the text messages, the manipulation. Then she wrote, Marcus was the one I thought might be genuine. I was wrong. They're all the same. They see me as an obstacle between them and money. I'm done hoping they'll change. Tomorrow I call David and sign the will. She closed the notebook and went back to bed. She didn't cry. She'd wasted enough tears on people who didn't deserve them. The weeks that followed brought more harassment. Hannah sent certified letters expressing concern about Mother's declining mental state. Marcus contacted her doctor's office, claiming family worries about her competency. Claire showed up at the house twice, once tearful and apologetic, once angry and accusatory. Janice documented everything. She saved every text, every email, every voicemail. She had Gloria Jean witness several interactions. David filed cease and desist orders. They built an ironclad case. Then, in early December, Hannah posted on Facebook, "Heavy heart today. Watching a parent age is one of life's hardest challenges. When they start making irrational decisions and refusing help from the people who love them most, it's heartbreaking. Asking for prayers for wisdom and patience as our family navigates this difficult time." Aging parents had family. First, within hours, Janice's phone was ringing. Distant cousins, church friends, former co-workers, all concerned, all having heard from Hannah that Janice was declining. The manipulation was sophisticated. Hannah painted herself as the devoted daughter, Janice as the confused elderly woman. And people believed it because it was easier to believe than the truth, that children could be this calculating. Gloria came over that evening, furious. "Baby, you gotta respond to this. People are talking." "Let them talk," Janice said quietly. "The people who matter know the truth. But your reputation is less important than my peace." Janice showed Gloria the will, now signed and filed. "David says if I engage on social media, it gives them ammunition, makes me look unstable. So I won't engage." "You're stronger than I'd be." "No, Gloria, I'm just tired of fighting for people who don't want me. I'm saving my strength for living." 2 days before Christmas, the group chat lit up again. "Hannah, we're coming to the lake house this weekend. We've decided it's time to start using it properly. Mom's clearly not maintaining it. We need the keys. Not asking, demanding." Janice's hands didn't shake as she typed. "The lake house is not available. You are not welcome there. Hannah, it's our inheritance. Stop being selfish. Marcus, we're coming whether you like it or not. We deserve access to that property. Claire, you can't keep us out of our own future. We're all beneficiaries." Janice called David. "They're planning to show up at the lake house Saturday," she said. There was a pause. Then David's voice came back, calm and certain. "Perfect. I'll be there. It's time to settle this." Janice hung up and looked out her kitchen window at the gray December sky. This was it. The moment everything came to light. She felt no fear, no doubt, only a strange, settling peace. Let them come. Janice arrived at the Vermont Lake House at 9 o'clock Saturday morning. The December air cut sharp and clean, and the 3-hour drive from Connecticut had given her time to prepare. David Morrison pulled in behind her, briefcase in hand. "Ready?" he asked. "I've been ready since March." Inside, the lake house smelled of cedar and memory. David spread documents across the coffee table while Janice walked through rooms filled with ghosts, her children's laughter, Robert's voice, summers that would never come again. At 10:47, her phone buzzed. "Hannah, 20 minutes out. Make sure the heat is on." At 11, they arrived. Hannah's Mercedes, Marcus's truck, Claire's sedan. Spouses, grandchildren, coolers, bags, enough for a week. They thought they were moving in. Hannah tried her key. It didn't work. Confusion flickered across her face before she pounded on the door. Janice opened it. Hannah's eyes found David in his suit, documents spread like evidence. The color drained from her face. "What's he doing here?" "Dates. Mrs. Price asked me to be present," David said calmly. "Please come in." They filed inside, just Hannah, Marcus, and Claire. Their families waited outside, sensing something wrong. David gestured to the couch. They sat. Janice remained standing. "This is your mother's revised estate plan," David began, holding up the document. "She asked me to review it with you today." "Revised?" Hannah's voice strangled. "When?" "March," Janice said quietly. "Right after you told me to handle my problems myself. You never said anything. You made it clear my concerns weren't important." David cut through. "Mrs. Price has removed all 3 of you as primary beneficiaries." The lake house goes to Keisha Williams. The remainder, her home, savings, investments, goes to charitable trusts. The library system, cancer research, the women's shelter. Silence crashed over the room. Hannah grabbed the table. You're giving the lake house to Keisha? Our lake house? It was never yours, Janice said. It was mine and your father's. Marcus stood abruptly. You can't cut us out because we were busy when Aunt Patricia got sick. This isn't about one phone call. Janice's voice rose. This is about years of being treated like an ATM. You told me I was dramatic when my sister was dying. You showed up demanding keys to property you don't own. You tried to force me to sign power of attorney so you could control my money while I'm still alive. We were trying to help, Claire shouted through tears. Help me? Every conversation was about my estate, never about me. You planned renovations in a group chat while I sat in my house, alive, watching you divide up my life. Hannah turned to David, face hard. This won't hold up. We'll contest it. David didn't blink. I anticipated that. He pulled out folders. Mrs. Price underwent cognitive evaluation by Dr. Sarah Mitchell. She scored exceptionally well. We have video testimony of her explaining her decisions clearly. And we have documentation of your harassment, the power of attorney ambush, your Facebook posts questioning her competency, attempts to access her medical records. Marcus's face flushed. So you're punishing us? I'm protecting myself, Janice said, and honoring people who actually care about me. What about us? Claire's voice broke. We're your children. We were counting on my death, Janice interrupted. You were counting on me dying so you could cash in. David pulled out another document. You'll each receive $1,000, enough to prevent claims of oversight, a deliberate decision. Hannah laughed bitterly. $1,000. Let me tell you about everything, Janice said. I paid for your educations, supported every crisis, 30 years of sacrifice. And what did I get? Being ignored. Being treated like an obligation. Her voice cracked. You taught me that being busy matters more than being kind. You're a vindictive old woman, Marcus spat. Maybe. Or maybe I finally learned that blood doesn't obligate me to tolerate abuse. David stood. This meeting is concluded. The will is legal and enforceable. I advise against contesting it. What relationship? Hannah said at the door. You just destroyed it. No, Janice said softly. You destroyed it months ago. You just didn't notice. Claire turned back, desperate. Can't we fix this? Janice looked at her youngest daughter. Some things are just broken, Claire. The door closed. Silence settled. You did the right thing, David said. Janice wiped tears. Then why does it hurt so much? Because you're not like them. You still love them. Chapter 4. 2 weeks later, David called. Hannah filed a will contest. Undue influence, diminished capacity, coercion by Keisha. How long? Months? Maybe a year? Janice thought about her upcoming doctor's appointment, about the exhaustion creeping through her bones. They're requesting my medical records? All of them. I'll know more after Thursday. Dr. Patricia Chen didn't soften bad news. Stage 3 ovarian cancer. Operable but aggressive. With treatment, 2 to 3 years. Without it, 6 to 12 months. Quality of life with treatment? Major surgery. 6 to 8 weeks recovery. Chemo will make you sick, weak, but it gives you time. Janice thought about courtrooms and looking frail in front of judges. I want treatment, but I need to delay surgery until after the legal battle. That's risky. It's my choice, she told David that evening. We can use this to show clarity of purpose, he said carefully, but they'll claim cancer affected your judgment. The cancer came after the will change. I know. Keisha should know about this. Keisha arrived with a nurse's instinct for trouble. When Janice told her, grief and anger warred on her face. You can't delay treatment. I won't appear weak in court. Then drop the contest. Give them what they want. No. Why is this so important? Because it's about dignity. about spending my final days with people who value me. Janice squeezed her hand. But Keisha, I need to tell you there's going to be a court case. They'll say terrible things about you. Keisha was quiet. Then, I can't accept the lake house. The word struck like a blow. What? Hannah called me crying, saying I manipulated you. People at the hospital are gossiping. I don't know if I can handle it. Janice retrieved her notebook and set it before Keisha. Read it. Page after page of documentation. Phone calls, text messages, the power of attorney ambush, Marcus's staged reconciliation. By the end, Keisha was crying. They told me you were confused, that you didn't remember them visiting Mom. They never visited. You know the truth. Why lie like this? Because truth makes them look bad. Janice held her hand. Your mother would want you to have the lake house. Will you accept it? Yes, and I'll fight for you. Chapter 5. The deposition in March was brutal. Hannah's attorney, Patricia Weinstein, attacked hard. You've been diagnosed with cancer? Yes. Shortly after changing your will? No. The will changed in March last year. Diagnosis came in December. But you had symptoms, fatigue, weight loss? Yes. No mental impairment. How can you be sure? David interrupted. My client's cognitive evaluation is on record. No impairment whatsoever. Weinstein pressed on. You gave your children everything growing up? Yes. And now you're punishing them for being unavailable during one emergency? I'm making informed choices about my property. Choices influenced by anger and terminal illness. Choices influenced by clarity, Janice said. The cancer clarified my priorities. Your son Marcus tried to reconcile? He tried to manipulate me. Janice pulled out her phone. I have texts where he told his sisters he'd softened me up so they could make their move. Weinstein's expression flickered. She hadn't known. Then the killing question. Isn't it true you enabled your children's dependency and now you're angry they turned out exactly as you raised them? Silence. Yes, Janice said. Everyone blinked. Yes, I did enable them. I gave them everything. Never taught them reciprocity. That was my failure. She leaned forward. But that doesn't obligate me to continue enabling them in adulthood. This will isn't punishment. It's correction. Choi. The trial began in late April. Judge Margaret Thornton, 63 with steel gray hair, had seen every variety of family ugliness in 23 years on the bench. Hannah testified first, painting herself as the devoted daughter, but David destroyed her with phone records showing 3 calls in 6 months and text messages planning lake house renovations while Janice was still alive. You were planning to spend your inheritance before your mother was even dead? David asked coldly. Marcus tried to portray himself as caught between demanding sisters and a struggling mother. David produced the texts from his fake reconciliation. You told your sisters you'd softened her up so you could make your move. What did that mean? That was out of context. What context makes manipulating your dying mother appropriate? Marcus had no answer. Claire cried on the stand, her remorse genuine. I was drowning, but that doesn't excuse what I did. Then why contest the will? David asked. Because I need another chance to be her daughter. Then why didn't you call her, visit her, show up when she was caring for your dying aunt? Silence. Ed. Then Weinstein made her fatal mistake. She called Hannah's former employer as a witness. The man testified Hannah was under investigation for embezzlement. $400,000 missing. The investigation began in February, 1 month before Janice changed her will. When did Ms. Jensen's focus on her inheritance intensify? David asked. Around the time the investigation started. The courtroom erupted. Hannah sat ashen. Her secret was now public record. She'd needed the inheritance to stay out of prison. Finally, Janice took the stand. David walked her through everything. Patricia's diagnosis, the phone calls, the rejections. What did Marcus say when you told him your sister was dying? He said he was too busy for my drama, told me to handle it myself. David showed the group texts, the Facebook post, the power of attorney documents. When did you decide to change your will? When I realized I'd spent my life earning their love and it still wasn't enough, I decided to spend my final years with people who actually wanted me around. Not as punishment, as self-preservation. Weinstein cross-examined aggressively. You're dying, aren't you? Yes. And you're using your will to punish your children from beyond the grave. No, I'm using it to protect my dignity while I'm still alive. Janice looked at her children. I love them. I always will. But love doesn't mean I have to tolerate being mistreated. It doesn't mean I have to fund their lives while they ignore mine. Her voice broke. I have maybe a year left. I want to spend it with people who value me. Is that really so unreasonable? The courtroom was silent. Judge Thornton took 3 days to decide. This is one of the most clear-cut cases I've seen, she began. Mrs. Price underwent extensive cognitive evaluation. There is no evidence of impairment, no evidence of undue influence by Keisha Williams, who initially refused the inheritance. She looked at the children. What I see is a pattern of children treating their mother as a resource, planning her estate while she's alive, attempting to force power of attorney, questioning her competency when she refused their demands. She picked up her gavel. Mrs. Price has every right to distribute her estate as she sees fit. The will is valid and enforceable. Furthermore, I'm issuing a protective order prohibiting contact except through legal counsel. The gavel fell. It was over. Epilogue. October arrived 6 months later with trees blazing gold and crimson around the Vermont lake house. Janice sat on the porch, a blanket across her lap, watching sunset paint the lake. The cancer treatment had bought time, but the time was ending. She could feel it in her bones. But she was content. Keisha lived here now, having taken a local nursing job. She'd made gentle updates, fresh paint, new curtains, honoring the past while making it livable. Gloria Jean visited weekly from Connecticut, and they'd sit for hours sharing tea and memories. The doorbell rang. Keisha appeared. Aunt Janice, you have a visitor. Who? Claire. Janice's heart jumped. What does she want? She says she just wants to sit on the porch, won't come inside, won't ask for anything, just wants to be near you. After a long pause, Janice said, Let her come. Claire appeared, smaller and thinner than Janice remembered, eyes red-rimmed, face bare. Hi, Mom. Claire, can I just sit here? I won't bother you. I just wanted to be near you. Janice gestured to the porch steps. Claire sat like a child. For a long time, neither spoke. They just existed in the fading light, mother and daughter, separated by hurt but connected by blood that still meant something, even if it didn't mean everything. I'm in therapy, Claire said finally, working on why I shut down, why I couldn't be there. I'm not asking for forgiveness, just wanted you to know I'm trying. That's good, Janice said, and meant it. They sat in silence as the sun set, as the lake turned gold to purple to black. When Claire finally stood to leave, she paused. I love you, Mom. I know it's too late, but I need you to know. It's not too late, Janice said. It's just different. Claire nodded through tears and left. Keisha came outside. Are you okay? I am. Some things can't be fixed, but some things can heal, even if they're never the same. Janice died on a Thursday morning in early November, with Keisha holding one hand and Gloria Jean holding the other. Peacefully, the hospice nurse said. Simply stopped breathing between one moment and the next. Claire came to the funeral, sat in back, didn't speak, but was there. Hannah and Marcus didn't come. The funeral was small. Keisha, Gloria Jean, library friends, shelter volunteers, cancer nurses. People who'd loved Janice for who she was. David read her final letter. I spent my life giving until I had nothing left. When I was diagnosed, I finally understood. I was running out of time to live for myself. This will wasn't revenge. It was choosing joy in my final days. spending time with people who loved me as I was, not as they needed me to be. To Hannah, Marcus, and Claire, I loved you with everything I had, but I also learned to love myself. I hope you learn that too. To Keisha, thank you for showing up. The lake house is yours with all my love. To everyone, don't wait until you're dying to start living for yourself. Set boundaries. Choose joy. I handled it myself, and I have no regrets. One year later, Claire returned for Thanksgiving. Keisha had invited her. It was awkward. They didn't know how to be with each other. But slowly, over turkey, they began to talk. "She left you the photo albums," Keisha said, handing Claire a box. Inside were pictures of summers at the lake, her mother young and laughing, her father teaching them to fish. 3 children, dirty and happy, before everything got complicated. "I wasted so much time," Claire whispered. "So don't waste any more," Keisha said. "She forgave you. Now forgive yourself." They sat on the porch where Janice spent her final days, watching the same sunset over the same lake. Claire felt something loosen in her chest. Not healing, not yet, but the beginning. Her mother had handled it herself, and in doing so, taught Claire one final lesson: that dignity matters, that boundaries matter, that love without reciprocity isn't love at all. Learned too late to save their relationship, but maybe in time to save Claire from making the same mistakes. She raised her coffee cup to the sunset. "Thank you, Mom, for everything, even this." The lake reflected dying light, and in that reflection, Claire thought she saw her mother smiling.